Hi, I'm Shukti.
Hi, I'm Shukti.
Hey, I'm Shreeya. And welcome back to Need a Natter!
So, we have nattered with you for several episodes now about lots of varied topics, often from a very female-centric lens. So today we have a very special guest with us, our very first guest ever. So let's extend a very warm welcome to Ali as we invite him to have a natter with us today. Hey!
Yay! Welcome!
Hello.
So, Ali,
Lovely warm welcome. Hi, guys.
Would you like to just introduce yourself and what you're involved with specific to men's mental health, and also the two podcasts that you're involved with as well, because we want to give them a shout out.
Cool. Yeah, great. All right. I'll see you again in about an hour then after I finish talking about them all. My name's Ali. My surname's Gladstone. That makes me Ali G. That makes me a little bit more memorable than the random person in the street. Call me Ali G. Well, look. First of all, thank you so much for coming on here. It's a total honour, and I can already pick up. There's just loads and loads of energy in the room, so this is really, really exciting. Yeah, cool. So what do you want to know? I'm from Newcastle originally, one of the greatest cities in the world, as you'll all know, I'm sure.
Of course.
Of course, cool. I'm amongst friends, brilliant. Work-wise, I guess let's get into that. I do three things. I'm a CMO, which is a Chief Marketing Officer, which is just a fancy way of saying that I'm a consultant or a fractional director. And I work with businesses and I help them to market themselves. So I'm useless on social media and frankly not interested in social media at all. What I do like doing is to sit with the sort of the owners of a business, the executives of a business, and really find out what makes that business tick. And therefore, from a brand point of view and from a positioning point of view, see how we can make them stand out better than the competitors. So that's what I do, and I love doing it. I also run an IT business, specialising in AI and business analysis and DevOps, and that's Natter, N-I-T-A, which stands for the Northern IT Academy. You'll find us on your preferred search engine or AI bot. But I also, probably the reason for me being here today is I've been helping to run a men's mental health concern for about 2 years now. I'm always end up calling it a charity. We're not officially a charity, we're a CIC, a KIC, stands for Community Interest Company. Wingmen is its name. When I'm not doing all that stuff, I like to play the guitar. You can see guitar in the background. I like to listen to music. You can see some ridiculous speakers in the background as well.
They're very large, yeah.
Very big, yeah.
I couldn't afford the big ones, right? But I also have a couple of podcasts of my own as well. So big shout out to Discheads.
Hey.
Get that right.
Hey.
Discheads, which is me and a few mates nattering like you guys.
Nattering.
Yeah.
Nattering's good.
Absolutely.
About music. Pick an album every week and force everyone else to listen to something they don't want to hear, and then get back together and talk about it. So that's around on various different providers, podcast providers, that type of thing.
Yep.
And we've also got I also run a podcast called Half Baked with my friend Phil over in Silicon Valley. Half Baked is it kind of goes from being completely frivolous to really, really serious. Usually within the space of one episode, we'll pick an idea, a half-baked idea. Well, one of us will. We'll present the idea, and then the other person will decide whether it needs to be fully baked or needs to be thrown in the bin. And as I was just saying in preparation for this, one of those ideas was monkeys make the best pets. Obvious, right?
So obvious.
It is. Mice are boring, cats make terrible decisions, dogs are too yappy, you can't have a shark. So monkeys, right? Monkeys make the best pets. So that's that's what half baked.
Love it.
For sure.
Love it.
Yeah, love the idea. Everybody,
So-
please tune in to these podcasts.
Yes.
That's
That's
amazing.
right. That's right. That
I
one's only-
personally am really looking forward to listening to that episode.
Yeah.
Listen to that.
brilliant. It's got an artistic. Like I drew a picture as well to help us decide which is the best animal. Just for if you're a visual person.
Okay. Definitely, we'll be checking that out. Well, great
Yeah.
stuff. Okay, so with the way we've formatted today is that we've got a few questions that we would like to ask you, and if you could provide us with your take on, what the answers could possibly be, or how we could work towards getting the answers or resolving the issues at hand. And I think the way we've formatted it is that each of us will take 5 questions apiece, and we'll obviously skip any ones that you've already addressed, and we'll try and make this as interactive as possible. If there's anything anyone wants to say, just chip in as necessary. Mm-hmm. So the first question is related to the pressures that men face. So what would you say are the pressures that men face in relation to like gender roles that are expected of them? Like societal expectations?
Yeah, good question. Can I just put things in a little bit of context first of all?
Yeah.
Because I'm kind of coming at this from the point of view of Wingmen, which is our CIC. Now, Wingmen is a listening line, and I think it's important to put that out there. So what we don't do is offer advice. We're not clinicians. We don't get involved in any of that kind of advice giving piece. But what we are there to do is to listen, and I suspect that's probably a theme that will recur during the course of this episode. And it's my personal feeling is that kind of listening piece, that point of connection, like we are now. I'm already feeling better than I was half an hour ago because I've got some fabulous people in the room with me, and that's kind of what it's all about. So Wingmen is there just to say, look, if you want a chat with one of our volunteers, here's the number, we'll have a chat. And that chat from our side of things is listening. What we do at the end of that hour is signpost people. So I've got some amazing collaborators that I work with, and depending on what that call is, in fact, Manraj is one of those. Depending on the nature of the call, I can put those people in touch with someone who's appropriate, whether it's a lifestyle thing or a debt thing or business or whatever it is. Yeah. So that's Wingmen. Back to your question. So yeah, that's kind of the context of everything that I do. Really, back to your question. Now, my worry when I saw your questions is you think I'm a bit of an expert on all these things, and I'm not.
You're more of an expert than we are. I'll be honest, because
I'll take that.
I mean, just purely on the basis of what you would have perceived. I mean, even from a personal level, what you would perceive to be, the struggles that people of male gender are faced with compared to what we were biologically assigned, I guess.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I'll speak subjectively about that, I suppose. So I think women are stronger than men naturally. That's going to go down well in the room, isn't it? But I think it's true because men don't have to deal with like child, rearing a lot of the time, and that's a big thing. And I think that kind of that sort of biological separation means that men have got to be the breadwinners. And I know I'm kind of generalising there, but let's talk generally to start with, maybe. And that kind of means getting out there and using your talent if you've got one and trying to bring some money home. And that is really, really difficult. Wingmen kind of exists because of the pressure at that executive level, at that working level. The proportion of calls we get are way, way more weighted to men who are working and men who've got pressures from work, and those pressures, commercial pressures, financial pressures to sort of live up to a kind of an idea of how strong they've got to be or how resilient they've got to be or whatever it is, and just kind of get on with it. And I've been there. The reason why I helped to run Wingmen is because I was caught in that trap 8 or 9 years ago, and had a breakdown and had to stop working as a result of it. So I totally get it. So whether that's a gender thing or not, I don't know. Women will feel that as well.
Yeah, I guess there's slightly less of that. I think the expectation is a little less from us when it comes to, career-wise and everything. It's about finding a partner who can support you often. Although I guess that wasn't the case for any of us, but it is often the case that women would try and find a partner who would supplement their income and can, kind of help live the lifestyle that they want. And I guess the onus is more on the man, especially like if women are, if like you mentioned, the child rearing responsibilities. If they're all attributed to the female, then it will be the man who carries on in a general relationship.
Speaking of women, sorry, that's my mum calling me on the phone.
And a strong woman, I'm guessing. Strong woman in your...
She is. She's 5 foot and she's nails. So yeah, you wouldn't. And she's just got that Geordiness about her, so you wouldn't mess. But she's going to have to wait for the podcast. Yeah, no, agreed, Shruti. Yeah. I think you're right. Let's get a word out there straight away, because this will probably help. And that word is vulnerability.
Yeah.
And I think it's so hard. I think men are not hardwired to see vulnerability as anything other than complete weakness. And associate words like shame, guilt, embarrassment, around vulnerability. And a lot of the work that we do is based on that kind of feeling that a man has to step into a paradigm of what the world expects of them, what their friends expect of them, what their partners expect of them, and that kind of means they feel vulnerable a lot of the time, and men tend to immediately move from a position of vulnerability to a position of shame or embarrassment or guilt, and that's natural, but it's not right.
Yeah, no, completely agreed. I mean, okay, so in terms of like the calls that you do get, what would you say is the biggest impact on men's mental health right now, and has this changed, do you think, over the course of the 2 years that you've been involved with this in this space, basically, or from your own experience, do you think that things have changed recently?
I guess the pat answer to that would be social media, or it would be physical appearance or weight or something like that, and the world of advertising and all that type of thing, which has kind of moved from having an impact on women to having an impact on men. For me, because of the work that we do with the Wingmen, it's money. This idea of success.
Yeah.
The idea of making a success of your business, and or even if it's not business, we get calls from police officers, and a lot of the time, and it's that kind of idea of being successful in your role, even if your role is really, really demanding. So I think that whether that's a new thing over the last couple of years or not, that's like a lot of the stuff that we end up having to deal with.
Yeah, the social media thing was very prevalent in our previous conversations on this podcast as well. So it does seem like there's a commonality in the themes that you're finding as well. So from your experience, what would you say is the most affected demographic amongst men at the moment?
From our experience, it would be professionals aged 40 to 60, I would say.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm kind of in that group. Now, let's be a little bit careful with that, because our brand is there to appeal to those people. And the brand's strong. This is Wingmen, because the brand's quite strong. It cuts through and then allows people within that demographic to give us a call. I think we sort of set ourselves. So we think of us as a bit of Wingmen as an alternative to Samaritans. I want to be really careful there, because Samaritans is amazing. It's just an amazing like success story. It's incredible. However, there is a group of men who would never ring Samaritans for whatever reason, right or wrong. They just wouldn't. My assertion there, because this is my background, will be that that's partly because the brand doesn't really land with them, and kind of that's where Wingmen comes in. So there's a definite link between how we're positioning our brand and the demographic to whom we appeal.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, that just makes sense. Okay, so I'll just move on to the next question then. So why do you think there's a reluctance amongst men to seek help, and what do statistics say about men's response to be offered support? Are they, when they're offered support for their mental health, are they usually quite happy to receive it, or is there sometimes a reluctance to even receive that help, even if they sort it out?
So I think we take a step back from there.
Sure.
I think the biggest blocker is doing something about how you're feeling in the first place.
Yeah.
Again, this is anecdotal, certainly my experience and the experience of others who use our line as well. And so let's just break that down a little bit. It all starts with identifying that there's a problem. I think men and women, don't know, but certainly men think, this is normal. Waking up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat is kind of normal because I've been doing it for 10 years. Taking medicine, there's nothing wrong with that, to sort of help is normal. I see it normalised in culture all around me. Having panic attacks, drinking too much, all of these things just kind of become normalised. I think the more the older that you get. So, and all of that does is mask the fact that there is potentially a problem. Not necessarily, but potentially a problem. So the biggest difficulty is identifying that something's not right. And if you've got a loving partner, they'll tell you. Or if you've got huge EQ, you might find out yourself. Otherwise, you're just kind of a lost voice, and you might not even know that there's anything wrong with what you're feeling at the minute. So I think that, I know I'm not answering your question quite on the nose, but that identification point is so important. The next hurdle that men face is doing something about it.
Yeah.
And we're back to vulnerability here. So the idea that now that I see there's a problem, I want to do something about that. And that will make men more scared than anything they've had to deal with for whatever reasons. Not all of them, not everyone, but again, speaking from experience, I don't want to do anything about it because I'm scared of what I'm going to hear, or because it makes me soft. Makes me insecure. It's what are people in my peer group are going to feel about me? What's my partner going to feel about me? All of those sorts of things. That all kind of coagulates, gets men stuck in complete inertia, and that's I'm sorry to keep on bringing. Well, I'm not sorry, but to keep on bringing it back to Wingmen, because Wingmen's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's why we place so much emphasis on connection, on just providing a connection. Point of listening. Nothing fancy. We're not going to give you all the tools you need. It's not our job to do that. But what we can do is break down that habit of internalizing and not doing anything about it. The way that the brain works is so I went through counselling myself, and I learned all about the sort of the neuroplastic nature of the brain. And what that means is the brain kind of fires from one point to a point of connection, the way that it's most used to doing, right? Because because the brain's plastic, they literally, on a microscopic level, will carve out a route through the brain. And that's what we call habits. It's the easiest way from getting from A to B. That's why doing something differently is so hard, right? It's because the brain's going, hang on a minute, I'm used to going there. I'm not used to going there. What's that all about? So breaking that habit is the hardest thing of all, I think. And I think men can be quite. Don't know about your guys' partners, your partners. But yeah, I think men are. they can be stubborn as well, can't they?
Oh,
Let's face it.
absolutely. Absolutely. And I think you've answered my next question there, which was literally about why is there a reluctance, from men to seek help. So, I mean, that concludes all the first third of the questions. So over to you, Shux, if you want to take the next one, next lot.
Yeah, okay, I'm going to take the rest of the next batch of questions. So, out of this, the support that you'd maybe recommend to people that you're able to give, what is the most successful that you're finding? Like, do you think therapy, talking, or indulging in activities? What is the most effective way of giving support, even?
Yeah, it's horses for courses, really, Shukti, isn't it? I think that what works for one person isn't going to work for someone else, and I know that's a little bit but I honestly think that's the case. I hate walking. Walking is so boring, right? So boring. You can you can jump in a really nice car and get there a lot more faster. There are other men who are like, walking's amazing. Look at the boringness around me, and isn't it, and all that sort of stuff, right? So that's not for me. I'm much happier sort of sitting at home or jumping in a car.
Right.
But talk. So I would say talking. Purely
talking.
Talking therapy is amazing. But it's also hard. And I'm being a little bit flippant about walking. But going for a walk with some other people can do. Okay, so you're getting some fresh air and you're looking at nature and you're perhaps becoming a little bit more centered in the moment. Perhaps you're forgetting about the things that have been keeping you up in a cold sweat at 3 o'clock in the morning. And what that then does is you're now in a position where you're much more likely to want to talk. It's almost like the kind of the exercise, changing the environment bit comes first, and then that's the catalyst for something which could, in my world, really, really help, like opening up. That's how the brain works, isn't it? It's like we can't, when we're in a stressful mode, our ability to think cognitively and clearly and logically just shuts down completely, and we get emotional, and that's what fight, flight, or freeze is.
Yeah.
And what things like slowing your heart rate, changing your environment, going for a walk, dull as that is, can do is just allow that amygdala, which is kind of overdriven everything else, to calm down and just allow us to sort of take a little bit of time and think a bit more clearly about things.
Right. Okay.
What about you guys? Let's very briefly turn it around. What about women?
We natter listening to each other all the time. I'm going for walks, actually.
Yeah. Going for walks, and also for me, this might be a way of masking what I feel sometimes, but when I dive into work or keep myself busy, that generally makes me feel better. But again, that might be a way of distracting myself for a while, and then it might mean that I have to process my emotions later, or if they even ever get processed, or have they got processed yet, I'm not sure. But diving into work and these guys know, my sisters know, even if I'm not working, I'll constantly be doing something. Even if it's editing these podcasts, like, it's quite rare for me to sit still, which might actually be cause for concern now that we're talking about it.
You made us think, I think. For me, it's just hanging out with my kids. I think that's how I de-stress, and talking to these two, quite frankly. I think that's about it. How about you, Shreeya?
I need to have a rant. I just need to, and everyone knows this, because I'll come home from work and I'll be like, oh my gosh, and I will just have it out, and then I'm fine.
Yeah, I can attest to this.
Yes.
See, they were both nodding. They were like, yep.
We've heard these rants. Yeah, I can attest to that for sure.
Yeah. I've already done my quota for today.
Sorry, Shreeya, what's that?
I said I've already done my quota for today. I got everything off my chest before we started recording.
But there's something common in what you've all said, which is nattering, right?
Yes.
talking, connecting, listening, communicating, all of that sort of stuff is common, right? We're, men, women, we're all humans, aren't we, I suppose?
Yeah, that is true. So, I mean, just moving on, according to some recent reports, apparently there's a loneliness epidemic amongst men. What do you think is driving this? Or is there any reason? What would be the reason for this? Any ideas?
A loneliness epidemic. So, I don't know. I'm really wary of statements like that. Because incels is the latest thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think that because it's now got a name and because of adolescence and all that sort of stuff, it's like, there's an epidemic of it or whatever you want to call it. That's always been there. Okay, so it might not have been as pronounced because of social media and the ability to share those types of views, but those feelings have always been there. So I'm a bit of an empirical person at heart, and I guess I would say, well, let's see the data and let's before we sort of add fuel to the fire and say that there is a loneliness epidemic. Let's understand exactly what the data is telling us. And that's not to say that there aren't loads and loads of men out there who are lonely. Of course there are. Of course there are. What are the reasons for that? I don't know. I'm not sure how comfortable I am sort of talking about men. I never get lonely. I like spending time by myself. I've got an amazing partner. I love spending time with her as well, but I'm quite happy in my own company as well. And I guess what we're talking about there is men who, for whatever reason, aren't, and I don't know why that is.
Right. Okay.
So it's probably not what you're looking for, but
no, I think the reason we ask the question is because the answers aren't very clear on that at all. I mean, I think there's a lot of obviously journalists have coined they basically coined this term, like there's loneliness epidemic amongst men, but there's no real kind of there's no further information around it, and I think that's what we were wanting to become more educated about, really, because we didn't know either.
So I'm just going to jump a couple questions ahead because I think it kind of ties in a little bit about the social media thing. What harm do you think social media has done in setting expectations for men? And it's done harm for women as well, but specifically for men, what kind of harm do you think it's done there?
So I'm not on social media, and I've never, and that's probably speaks to my age as much as anything else, but I've never really got it. I've never got the whole. So I'll come to you and your question in a minute, but I've never really got the whole I need to share what's happening in my life thing. I just don't get it. Therefore, I'm not on social media. When I lurk around social media, usually for reasons of what's happening with Newcastle United FC, terrible, by the way. What I'm seeing there is just like absolute vicious, cowardly behaviour. So I think what social media has changed in the dynamic is the ability to be like horrible to someone with impunity. Yeah. It's like being able. It's like being invisible, but being able to cause harm.
Yeah.
And humans have always not got on with each other. But we've not got on with each other by shouting at each other across the street, or falling out at work, or getting on the wrong side of Shreeya and having getting raped. Well, I think what's happening with social media is, first of all, like in terms of proportion, it's just everywhere, so it's massive. There's no getting away from it. It's also got that kind of insidious side of it, which means that you can just be a bastard to someone and get away with it. Just be really, really horrible and get away with it. I don't know. I'm not on social media, but that's kind of what I see.
It's interesting that you say that, because our last episode was on this exactly, about how trolling, people are just they're able to do it without any consequence at all to their actions. And they are some, I mean, the three of us have all studied psychology at school level, I mean at A level, and then Shreeya also studied it in her, like she studied it at degree level as well. I did as well, actually. But so there are lots of studies that kind of show that when you take your identity away from an act that you're committing, you're more comfortable with doing things that you wouldn't be comfortable with if your name was, or your face was, attached to that act. So that, I think that is the social media. So we're seeing it in real time now. The studies that were conducted however many years ago, and now we're seeing it in real time. So it's quite interesting to see that. Actually, it's awful, but
and I think there's a political element to that as well, isn't there?
100%,
kind of the rise of the right wing and popularism, which is and the whole debate around free speech, which is just mental, because it kind of, it's been the debate around free speech, which you'd think would be a binary debate, actually moves both ways, and that's just crazy, because that's not free speech. Really. But what's happened, because of the where the world is at the minute, there's a vacuum, and the popularists on the right, rightly or wrongly, not casting any aspersions really, I suppose I am, are kind of filling that vacuum, and filling it with sort of more toxic ideas as well. So there's that kind of. And social media is the vehicle for being able to communicate that at a huge level.
Yeah. Definitely saw that during Brexit. There was so much misinformation thrown around.
Yeah, there was. Now just on to the next question. Now, there are some numbers out there. I mean, I don't have them at hand, but they kind of say that they show that people ending their own lives, it's disproportionately more men doing that than women. Now, again, like I say, I don't have the numbers at hand, but do you think there's a identifiable cause for this? And are there any telltale signs that we should look out for the men in our lives as well? Because, I mean, unfortunately, we did have a friend who kind of went through something like this, and very shockingly we heard that he'd ended his life, and there was no telltale signs that we would have known. He was the happiest person in the room, the most talkative, the one cracking the most jokes, and he would have literally been the last person on our list that we would have thought, if anyone asked us what are the chances, we would have said no way. So, and that was he was a really young guy, in his early 20s. So, I mean, is there something that can be done by partners or friends, or just to offer support, or are there any telltale signs, or is it, or they're not?
Well, I mean, first of all, look, I'm really sorry to hear that. That's terrible. It's something that no one wants to go through, wants to be, have an experience of. So it's really sad. And in your 20s as well. Everyone in the room, and it sounds like pious, but everyone in the room knows that if that person had given himself another 10 or 20 years or whatever, then I'm sure things would have looked completely different. I think you've kind of answered your own question, Shukti, though. I think that let's not generalise. I'm sure with some people there are signs, and with some people there just aren't signs. Men are pretty good at, manning up, boys don't cry, put a brave face on, all of those epithets, which are a little bit sort of old-fashioned these days. To your question, what can we do? Well, so I'm gonna stay on brand, I think, and say connection and listening. Connection is the one thing at Wingmen that we try to do, because I think that point of connection can be a catalyst for all those sort of neurological reasons that we were talking about before. And kind of listening as well, and just sort of being there. But I don't think we can generalise. I think that different people react in completely different ways. Persistence as well has probably got to be in there. But yeah, I mean, how does that sound? I'm trying not to dodge the question, but I'm also aware that we can't compartmentalise.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But basically just keep communication open, and that's the key to it, right? Is basically what we're coming to, that just keep nattering, keep chatting to one another, to your loved ones, check in on everyone. I guess that's the
I mean, it's not by accident that we've got 3 females in the room and they natter about having a natter. Men wouldn't do that, right?
Yeah.
Men would be in the pub complaining about the football or the weather or gardening or something. So I don't think men do this. I think absolutely, it is about trying to shift that paradigm.
Yep. Okay. Great. All right. So, Shrees, do you want to take the next lot?
Yeah, sure. So, at the beginning, you mentioned that a key cause that you've seen quite often with men when they're calling in, and just generally through your experience as well, is when they have pressures as the breadwinner and to provide and be successful. Do you think there's a way that in society we can better support that? Is there something that needs to be put in place, maybe in workplaces, to better support it? I know some places are starting that in the workplace and everything, but as a society, what do you think we can do to help them?
Oh wow! You like the big questions, you guys, don't you?
Sorry.
No, it's good. There's 2 things there, I think. So what can we do about it, and maybe at work, and in that sort of setting. Let's maybe take that first. One thing that we've discovered. So Wingmen has a kind of let's call it a corporate angle to it as well. So we work with employers who know that their staff, their colleagues, won't speak to HR. It's a classic example of the police, I suppose. So let's think about a policeman's job, for the sake of this podcast, as being probably one of the most stressful, challenging, traumatic occupations that you could have. And yet, are you really going to go to the police sponsored internal support system and get it all off your chest? No, you're not. No. Because that immediately implicates, your ability to carry out your duties. Whether that's right or not, I don't know. But the perception will be that if I start to talk to that internal HR team or whatever it is equivalent, then I'm going to be, someone's going to have a word with someone, and before I know it, I'll be out of the job because I will have been deemed to be incapable of carrying out my duties. What Wingmen does, and a key thing, is we're completely anonymous. We don't know the people, we don't ask to know the people, we don't want to know the people, we all have pseudonyms, and therefore we can be completely impartial, and therefore I kind of urge organisations to have a chat with us and talk about collaborating with us and sort of helping out. I did say there were 2 things there, and I can't remember what the other one was, but don't know. What was the question again? Don't know. Anyway.
Within society, perhaps. Was it to do with that?
I can't remember. I don't know. Sorry.
It's okay. Maybe when we go down the line, you'll remember. I've still got more questions. Don't worry.
Cool.
So you mentioned obviously police officers and the trauma that they'll go through at work and their experiences that they'll have that that they should be talking out but then don't. Do you find that in other emergency services as well? What about the mental health sector or just the healthcare sector in general? Do you think it's the same with them as well? Because they'd be more knowledgeable about it than police officers, right? About mental health and what services there are for them. Do you think it's similar for them?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. It's not just one sort of occupied sector of society. Without a doubt. I mean, we get pilots ringing us up, and again, kind of a really stressful job. But we've had conversations with pilots as well. but it doesn't have to be quote unquote a stressful job. Every job's stressful if you're not coping with it. You could be sweeping the streets. You know, I'm not trying to say you've got to be careful, haven't you? No, I used to be a bin man actually, so I'm not worried. But it could be, being a bin man. Be anything on the face of it. I tell this story actually. Let's sort of tell this quick anecdote. I remember hearing on TalkSport 10 years ago, terrible radio station. This conversation. Sorry if TalkSport are your sponsors. But they're horrible. I remember them having this conversation about a cricketer who who had to stop playing because he couldn't deal with the stress anymore. And the conversation was, and this is going to sound really anachronistic right now, the conversation was, how dare that person doing the thing that he loves as a profession, earning millions, being a celebrity, being adored, travelling the world, how dare he not be able to cope with his job?
That's ridiculous.
Absolute. It's not
awful.
Yeah.
That's where we were 10
I mean,
years ago.
No, I remember, on the cricket subject, I remember when Sachin Tendulkar, he couldn't play a match because his father had died, and how he had to take a break from a series, and there was a lot of opinions on that, let's just put it that way. And not everyone was sympathetic. The majority of people were not sympathetic because they were like, oh, he cost us the entire series. I don't think you two remember this because it was when you two were quite young.
I don't remember this.
This was, it would be in the 90s for sure. And apologies if I got any of those facts wrong for the listeners in India, because I know you love your cricket, as do I. But yeah, I remember there being a little bit of a backlash about him costing the entire series, potentially. So it's not nice, and you just think like, how traumatic is that event? And it doesn't take very much to be compassionate for something like that. Well, we don't think so anyway, but evidently there's something lacking in society around that.
Yeah. Right. Another question that I had is, those that are calling in, those men that are calling in, are they more often men who haven't spoken to someone before, or maybe are any of them, been previously diagnosed with any kind of mental disorders, like depression, anxiety, maybe schizophrenia, something like that, and are they also calling in?
Yeah, we get also. I mean, we do. We get the people from the whole spectrum, and that's partly because, again, from a brand point of view, we don't discriminate. We've got a basic set of rules, sort of, agree with our values, be respectful. Those sort of general things. Other than that, we don't discriminate, and as long as you're a man. And just give us a call. So because of that, we get people, who have tried a few different things, and they might have just had a bad day. They might, and you know what? That's fine. It's absolutely fine if there's nothing wrong, or if there's been something wrong and it's just been a bit of a trigger because you've had a bad day.
Yeah,
that's absolutely cool. Give us a call. We all have bad days, and there's nothing shameful in that.
Yeah. Right. And as for males who are in our lives, I know we've touched on this a little bit before, and to keep communication open, but I can definitely think of a few who I feel like I've tried to reach out to and try to encourage them to talk, and if not to me, then to someone else, and they just seem very unwilling to actually speak about it. They just shut down. So what do you think is the best way to encourage them, and who should they go to if they're being that unwilling?
This is a tricky one. So my take on that would be, the decision to make that first step has got to come from you. It's got to come from you. You can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And because if it doesn't, then if it's not coming from you, then you're not going to. You're doing it for the wrong reasons. You're doing it to pacify your partner or to pacify your employer or whatever it is. Now, that's not to say that there aren't instances where, someone's really been encouraged and has taken that step. That's absolutely fine. I guess what I'm saying is, you have to sort of cross that decision point yourself. You can't be pushed over it. You've got to come to the conclusion yourself. It's not to say that someone can't go with you. It's not to say that someone can't be in the room when you're calling Wingman. It's not to say any of that. But that compulsion, the chances of, a successful outcome, for want of a better phrase, is often down to, the authentic need to do something about it yourself, I think.
Yeah.
Does that help?
Yeah, it does. It does.
Yeah.
It does. I also wanted to ask, what if they haven't realised in themselves that there might be something wrong with their mental health, and they're kind of pushing through and they haven't quite realised it? What do you think might be the signs that they need to look for within themselves?
Oh man, that's the biggest one. So, so just going back to what we were talking about a little while ago, identification that there's a problem is the first step, and it's really hard. But there are some absolute physiological signs, and lack of sleep or interrupted sleep is a huge one. Drinking more than you should is a flag. Not changes in how you would behave socially, going out, staying in more than going out, whatever is normal, any changes like that. Even to kind of sort of breathing. I would say your ability to deal with stressful situations. I'll give you mine. Mine was because I used to have a really reasonably senior position within a business, and I couldn't open emails anymore. Like the sound that an email made, bing, it's a really happy sound. It wasn't happy when I heard it. It was like, oh no, like this is going to be bad news. So I ended up just leaving my emails until I felt well enough and capable enough of opening them up. And that's not right. I had a senior position. My job was to be on top of everything as soon as it happened, type of thing. So it's just things like that where but you don't want to know, do you? So you stick your head in the sand a bit.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I've seen a lot of people triggered at work when they hear a Teams call coming through. That tune seems to be triggering to quite a few people. Seems to make them anxious that, there's something that I'm not prepared for, who's calling me.
I think that's why France have got really strict labour laws now that you can't contact people out of hours because it makes life more stressful, basically. So I don't know if I don't know how many companies here implemented those kind of rules, but it's not law here for now anyway.
Interesting.
Yeah. And do you have any message out there to put out there for parents of young boys or young males? Because obviously society is changing so fast now, with social media being such a big impact and AI being such a big impact, and everyone seems to be affected from very early on. Do you have a message for parents and any telltale signs that they can look out for in their young boys?
Don't bring them up as Newcastle United supporters.
Oh, gosh.
I will bear that in mind for my little one.
just become a glory hunter. I don't know. I mean, I think Shruti used the word compassion before, didn't you? And that's a big word, right? And it's difficult as a parent. I'm a parent, and it's difficult to not just respond, the way that your parents probably did. I think this generation, whether it's our generation, I don't know or what, but I can see our generation being much more mindful of the pressures that are going on. Just kind of take that breath before you react.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know.
I was going to say, how can people? Yeah, that's really good advice. And I was going to say, how can anyone affected, get in touch. If anyone out there is listening to this podcast and they feel like they need help, what would you say to them?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, what you're looking for me to say, rightly so, is get in touch with Wingmen, which we would love to have happen. That's wingmen. I better check actually. I always get this wrong. .org.uk. But it's I guess before that, it's just sort of have a think, isn't it? Just stop. Is what I'm feeling normal? Could I, why did I react like that? What's it making me feel? And just kind of get in touch with that inner voice a little bit, and just try and make the first step. That might be Wingman. It might be, might be something. Might be a partner, might be a work colleague or friend.
And pardon my ignorance on this, but is it just UK based? Because we do have a few international listeners as well that we know of.
No, it's it's a UK line. We don't discriminate. We only really get calls from the UK because from a marketing point of view, that's where we're I suppose most prevalent.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us today. That's been so insightful, and I think it's just it's educated us a lot, and I think it's just added to our knowledge and our understanding of the pressures and how a lot of things that we thought in our bubble, we're like, oh, these things are affecting us, but they're affecting boys and men as well, especially the social media aspect that you mentioned. So thank you very much for sharing your knowledge with us, and and listen out for the podcasts, everybody, because they sound amazing.
No, thank you for the opportunity as well. I hope I haven't put you off having more guests.
No, absolutely not. This has been so insightful.
You've encouraged us.
Cool. Good. Excellent. Thank you. Very quick plug. We need volunteers. At Wingmen, we can't do what we do without having someone at the other end of the line. I know that we've been talking about the callers a lot today, but it's also about the people receiving those calls as well. So whoever's listening to this, you can get in touch. You can ring our number. You can drop off an email, whatever it is, and perhaps in the show notes you can sort of add the URL in there and whatnot. We do subsist before the as well.
Yep, definitely.
Yep, for sure, we can do that. So everyone listening, please like, comment, subscribe, share to all 3 podcasts that we've just spoken about today. Need a Natter, Half Baked, and Diskeheads. Yay! And if anyone has any additional questions for Ali, please leave it in the comments, and we will get back to you on that. All right.
Thank you
so much for joining us. It's been fantastic. Yay. Bye, everyone.
It was lovely having a natter with you.
Yes, it was. Bye.
Bye.